Operation Manager's Report.
April White, your operations manager, and I'll try to make mine quick. And I apologize that this didn't get in the agenda. I got really backed up and I just didn't meet the deadline. One of the things that we've been working on is the utilities true-up payment. I believe we are on schedule for bringing that to you on December 1st. We're working through some issues with Tony on that. Website development, we've had 3 meetings now. We're still trying to finalize the site map criteria. So we're kind of looking at the ideas of what we want to have on there and then what we have on our existing website, and we have to go back and make sure that our wish list isn't really more than the content on the website, because the proposal is really just some soft changes and then to bring our content over. So we're just working on that final mapping, and then we can proceed from there. Fairway Lakes lighting, a letter was mailed to property owners on November 7th, indicating the lights will be turned off on December 9th. I believe it's WCI. Someone had contacted us and indicated that WCI owns the road and would like to request the district to take the asset, take that road, and so I suggested that a letter be submitted so we can formally address that. Natural resources, we're still working on the littoral policy, roadway master plan. We've worked on an invitation to the community stakeholders, and the signs have been surveyed, so we're making some progress on that. Parks and Rec, the Fun Park Initiative, I just received the poll estimate, and we had a security company that we were going to talk to as far as the monitoring of the cameras and the different type of security options that we can address as an alternative to the Lee County Sheriff's Office. We still want to sit down with somebody and discuss that, and so that's the one last thing that we have to do. So I have that scheduled to come before you, a proposal on the 15th of December.
April,
Yes.
April, if I may, on that.
Yes.
Will you have a security camera, proposal outlining placement, location types, and all those kind of items?
No, right now this
Okay.
is just an overall topside cost.
Okay, thank you.
Analysis.
Just want to make sure, because we
Okay.
could have that portion of the meeting.
Yeah, and on
exempt if we
and
want
on
to.
that, we'll also provide the board has requested like a summary of the benefits and constraints of a towing policy, and so
Thank
I
you.
want to try to wrap that into one.
Good.
The dog park repairs are currently in progress. We've got the grounding rods installed, and the surge protection is installed, and we're still looking for the brain of the unit. It's currently MIA. We're trying to find out where it is, and that's the last part that we have to deal with that. They were out here this week working on it. On the maintenance side, Stony Brook irrigation, we've had a lot of calls, a lot of complaints regarding the low pressure, and everything's kind of, not everything, but along the roadways, there's a lot of browning areas. And so staff met out there this morning, and our plan is to prepare a letter of recommendation that's going to be presented to the Stony Brook Advisory Committee on the 7th. Community development, let's see. We received a lot of plans to be reviewed and submittal packages from WCI that we're processing. And I think that was it for me. Any specific questions that you have that I might have missed?
I have one.
Yes.
The low pressure irrigation at Stony Brook, is that connected with the faulty pumps that Chris told me about? Maybe I should ask him.
Yeah, he can cover that on his report, if that would be okay, because he knows the specifics. He went out this morning and evaluated some issues and came up with some ideas. So I think he would probably be able to give a more educated response to that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Board members? No? Thank
Okay.
you very much. District Manager,
Yeah, I
Stephen?
have no additional items at this point.
Okay. Utility Manager's report. Now, Chris.
Chris Shoemaker, Utility Manager. have a brief status report, and then I have some guests I'd like to introduce. President and Regional Manager of the Zenner Corporation, that they wanted to provide some information to the board. I'll start with the pressure issue at Stony Brook. That's twofold. We had a major pump go down over this last weekend, and we're kind of limping along and continuing to have some malfunctions. The repair crew will be in tomorrow morning to fix it, and the pressure will be back up to normal. We have had selective outages depending on different times, mostly around 3 to 5 in the morning, where the pressure's had some considerable drops. And we've talked to probably about 20 different residents about it, but assured them that after tomorrow, that problem will be rectified. But I'll probably be back in the next few weeks to bring a proposal to get a new pump in our array out there.
I thought you said you were gonna fix it for a few $100s instead of a $50,000 pump.
Well, I'm gonna try to take the one out and have it rebuilt that we're fixing. Yeah, they're a little old. But the problems in Stony Brook are twofold. We got together out there this morning, with the HOA, with Mainscape and ourselves, because there's a lot of issues and there's no one cause. The issues they've had this last week with the medians have been attributed to us and some of the pressures. And we also did a brief walkthrough, and some of it's operational. They have 3 huge zones in there that they're watering their right-of-ways with, and they have them all turned on at the same time. And just some of the way operationally it's set up, and also they've been confined too, because when they used to run that watering schedule later in the morning, now you have the children walking to school, because the buses can't come inside the community, so they're literally walking at 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, and till 9 o'clock, the high schools, and that cuts a couple hours, 3 hours out of their window also. But we're going to get back together with them and give them and Mainscape some recommendations to improve the operations. TECO started this week on the gas line. And
That's premature.
Is there a but?
And it was funny because you don't hear from them for 2 weeks. You send them 2 emails. I'll let you know we're going to have a tailgate meeting. And Monday morning it was like, hey, the meeting's in 30 minutes. No notice, no. But they've basically pulled most of the line from the far side of Gateway down to Griffin to their point of connection. Next step, we'll do some more locates, start heading north up Gateway to the pool complex.
Yeah.
And south to the brewery after the north leg's complete, and 3 to 4 weeks total for construction time if everything goes according to their plan. And they are doing a nice job out there. They're going to restoration, we're really on top of them about, and they're even walking the site at the end of the day. I told them pick up all the garbage, and even if it's stuff they didn't drop, they've been picking it up. So they're doing a good job out there, and real meticulous about not hitting anything so far. So our wastewater pump station, I had that we would have that telemetry on the 14th. They'll actually be out tomorrow, but that's moving on schedule. Our remaining water meter installations are slugging along with US Water. I think they've done 3 so far this week, but they are the larger meters. But we're staying on top of them. Pond 104 is moving along. Our irrigation evaluation finished up. It was interesting with the well back here. When we dropped the camera down the bottom, there was a big chunk of concrete grout that had fallen out of the formation and was blocking the borehole at the bottom. Which could be a significant problem, but they actually made a hook and went down there, and we fished it out of the way. So they're doing the pump test tomorrow, and we had to get a new motor starter for it. But the good thing is all the wells we've looked at and the cameras and going down, that the formations are intact and they still have a lot of useful life left in them. So, and my last comment will be I appreciate the service with our departing board members too. It's been a great experience for me, and I hope you move on to bigger and better things. And for our next item, we have the president of Zenner Corporation, Rick Sanders, is here today to talk about the Zenner product, the meter program. They've been here the last 4 days. Reviewing the meters out in the field, the software, the system from top to bottom. he has a few comments about that, a few comments about the capability of the system and what to look forward to in the future.
And Chris, before you leave, how many outstanding meters do we have?
I've got about 36.
And are
32.
these all considered big units, or?
Yeah, they're all major units, and we have just a couple irrigation to finish out, and after that, it's going to be after hours and on weekends, putting in the big potables for the Gardner buildings, the schools. We can't really shut them down during the day. And that's fine with the contractor. They've agreed to do that.
Okay.
So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Rich Sanders.
Thank you. When I'm setting up here, so as he said, my name is Rich Sanders, and actually I'm the president of Zenner USA. So that covers Canada, United States, Mexico, and Central America. And I'm over the manufacturing, engineering, and distribution and sale of the products in that area. I'm going to need that.
Is it plug in?
Oh, here, it's right here. Thank you. So, about a month ago, I was here sitting with April and Leslie and Chris, and we were talking about the system and how it's operating. And they said they were still having some issues with about 400, a little over 400 meter locations. So I wanted to make sure that we sent a team in here and looked at those and analyzed those for you, as we did previously. We swept the whole system. And I want to introduce the guys I sent, because they're not just anybody. So what I wanted to do is send some of my best people. So that gentleman over there is Ron Gallen, and he's actually my VP of manufacturing. So he runs the manufacturing plant in California. And I let him come out here so he could look at any of the issues that we were having, if it was equipment related. And so we would know immediately what was wrong with our equipment, if there was anything. The other gentleman sitting behind him, if he'll raise his hand. Okay, he's the National Service Manager. And Anthony Graham obviously controls all the project managers and all the service people in the United States. And I thought it was important for him to be here, because he was supporting Mark Green, who was the original project manager and handled most of the project that went in here. And to complement them, I brought the regional sales guy, and he helped as well, Dan Devane. And with us today is John Tysinger, and he's from Fortiline. Fortiline is our distribution in this area, and they were the prime on this project. So after saying that, I want to review, and I have a lot of information in the presentation, and they've asked me to just start with the review of what we discovered on this visit, because we're completed now with that, those 400 and some odd meters, and I'm going to go through those and tell you exactly what we found and show you some pictures and stuff, because pictures are worth 1,000 words. And then from there, if you want to have an understanding maybe more about how the system operates overall, I don't know how much the board understands about the system and what it can do for the community and what it can do for the utility itself when it comes to preserving their assets and revenue.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think, Mr. Sanders, you have a copy of this to leave with us as a record as part of the presentation?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
So we came here and we looked at 452 locations inside of the Gateway community. There were 397 that there was absolutely no problem with. They were all reading just fine. And what was happening when Leslie was running her reports, and I think one of the issues throughout the project that we had is the change of personnel in Gateway as we were running the program. So if you look at that evolution, we came in and we trained the original people that were here to run the system, and then they left, a new set of people came in, and then they left, and then, of course, April and Leslie came in. So they didn't have the kind of training they probably should have that we trained the other people. And so we're providing that to them now. So the 397 are basically errors in data transition. And so they're fixing those. We're here, and Mark is working with Leslie to make sure she understands how to make sure that data runs smoothly. We found 35 bad ETRUs. ETRUs are the encoders. They're the ones that count the information coming out of the meter and then sends it digitally to the radio that transmits it into the system, so we have the readings. So there were 35 of those that were bad, and we'll talk about what was wrong with those. There were 13 dead MIUs. MIUs are the meter interface units. That's the little gray things that connect to the meter. They get the information, then transmit that information to the host computer. There were 3 damaged MIUs. 2 wrong meter numbers, 1 ETRU not attached to the register, 1 MIU not programmed properly, and 2 meters installed in reverse in the sprinkler system that are out on the island. Yes, sir.
Can I stop you?
Absolutely.
You okay? Based upon this, proportionally, is this typical? If you were installing 1,000 or whatever the numbers are, obviously, I should think you would have done a percentage analysis and said this is either way over norm or about norm, or hopefully you wouldn't say it's under norm.
If you'll let me just show you the pictures, because you're not getting the full information yet. So once you have all the information, I'll answer that question for you. Okay? Because what you're looking at is an overview, and now I'm going to tell you specifically what caused the failures. Because what caused the failures comes back to the responsibility, or what, it isn't the equipment that was bad, is what I'm about to say. So let me explain to you what happened to the equipment, all right? Through pictures, which are the best way to explain it.
So it's all Severn Trent's fault?
No, no, sir. So let's go through the equipment, all right? So out of the ones that failed here, we noticed there were, in fact, it's better if I show you. I don't think you guys can see those pictures very clearly there. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to show things. So this is a picture of a brand-new installation that was done here, I think, by after the project was completed. These were additional meters that were installed here by Gateway. If you notice that the MIUs themselves were in the water. They're dropped in the pit. They're not in the lid lock. So if you see those are the MIUs there. Thank you. So that is a problem with maybe training the field people, making sure they're in the lid locks and they can report properly into the system. And I don't know if that makes sense. So these are radios, and if they're in the bottom of the pit and they're upside down, one, you can drain the batteries, because the batteries are positive side down, they'll drain very quickly, and they need to be positive side up, and they need to be in the lid to get maximum transmission.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Forgive me. Chris? When did our people get involved in the installation? I thought that this was done by...
It's not, it's US Water. I'm looking at that. If those antennas were in there, they've had a couple that they put in, but the holes weren't drilled in the lids, and they took the lids away to go drill the holes.
All right, so
And that's
was
what I-
that
that's
our...
what I think that
Was
is
that
there.
our staff, or was that
US
some...
Water. They went out there and the holes weren't in there, so they completed the installation and left it.
Yeah, and I don't want to point fingers.
All right, I'm taking it personal. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, the last thing I want to do, and one thing we won't do, is point fingers. As a company, Zenner's a global company. We've been around for 113 years, serving 92 markets worldwide. And we don't point fingers. We're here to solve problems. We're here to help the staff understand if they need more training. We're here to make sure our equipment's working properly. We're here to make sure we do all the things that are necessary to make your project complete and make sure that your staff knows how to operate the system. And so let me show you a few other pictures. So we have some they're not reporting. And a lot of the pits are, a few of the pits we find are under, they're in easements, but people have planted over them. And so the signal can't get out of that area in order to reach the collectors. Does that make sense?
So you've got a canopy, so to speak.
Yeah, so you need to trim those back around those specific ones. So we've pinpointed those and we've given that list, okay? Here was one that was interesting. Somebody had pried the head of the register off the meter. So that's sort of a vandalism kind of thing. So somebody actually pried the head of the meter off the register off the meter, so obviously it can't report.
So our staff knows where that is? And
Yes, they do. So actually, we fixed it while we were out there. Everything that's up here that's bad, we fixed. We went ahead and we told everybody what was wrong, and we went out and fixed those today.
We noted the locations of each one of them.
Yeah, so we have every location and what was bad.
So there's no way of knowing how much actually went through that we could back charge somebody?
Not when that happens.
Not when they vandalize. Now, here's the thing, okay, just so, and this is where it comes to understanding what the system really does. The system used properly would have told you immediately there's an issue the day it happened, all right? But because the staff isn't fully trained or used to the system yet, they're not at that level yet.
So
And
we're
we're gonna
talking
get
about
them
we're
there.
talking about system alerts.
Yeah,
Okay.
the system's a great system, because not only for the end user, so if the system was used properly, every day a report comes in and tells you exactly every customer you have in your system that has leaks at their residences. We can tell when somebody's tampered with their meter, they reversed it, there's no use at an active account, so they've done something, and then you can be proactive in going out and checking those things. But your staff isn't at that level yet of understanding the system. We're going to get them there.
All right, so tell us how quickly you're going to get them there.
Well, as quickly as they can learn it, we're going to get them there.
Well, and part of it has been, we've got all of the static, and so we spend
Yeah.
a lot of time doing this and not doing the topside analysis that we.
Correct, you can't, until they get this baseline done, all right? And once again, we're not pointing fingers. But it gets very difficult to, over 18 months, you train a set of people, they leave, we train again, they leave, and then you have people that come in after the project, and they're trying to clean up everything, and everybody has the wrong impression, well, it's got to be the equipment, it can't be anything else, and to the contrary, it has not been the meters or in general, the electronics that are out there. Although you have 14,000 pieces of electronics in the ground, you're going to have to service those, yes.
One quick, and you asked this question earlier, when you looked at the numbers and the totals of problems, you're talking about, I think it's roughly 7,200 meters. And that's how many problems you've got associated with 7,200.
Again, you do this every day, I've got my
Yes,
thing
sir.
that I do every day. I'm asking you from your point of view, is that typical?
So, I'll tell you, I'm John Tysinger with Borderline. I'm the GM of the municipal group. We install metering systems.
Hey, John,
across-
do me a favor. Do you mind stepping
Sure,
up just
sure,
so?
sure. So we install metering systems across the United States, not only Zenner, but name your flavor of metering systems, any of the major players. And for there to be 35-ish issues that aren't something being cried off, or a MIU that has been underwater or something along those lines, if there's 35 of them that aren't reading because of some sort of issue, that's roughly 0.5% of a failure rate.
But is that
Which-
accurate, Chris? I mean, I thought we got a list that was like 1,000 or
1,400.
1,400.
How about we get Chris and let the three of them kind of interact
Yeah,
together?
let me go back. Now you're going back to the old days. If we want to discuss the first sweep, we can do that, because there are actually only 300 of those, all the meters we swept in the system. We had 300 pieces of equipment we changed out, and we analyzed. I had my engineering staff, all right, because I control all development here, so I had my development engineers cut open and analyze those units, because I was interested in seeing what happened, right? Because that's not our normal, that is not normal, to answer your question, failure rate. So now we go back and we analyze that, we say, okay, how many were X, Y, and Z? And I have that information. I don't know how interested you are in seeing it, but I have that, and it's an engineering analysis, a short overview of that. So there are only 300. There's been less than a 4% issue that we've had caused by installation, vandalism, or not installed properly pieces of equipment. To date, none of the meters have been a problem. The 4 meters that you thought you had a problem with were here, and we're just now pulling them from the ground. They have some calcium in them. They got some other things that are coming through the pipeline, and we'll sort that out with your team here and why that's happening. That's our job, to help you do that. But it hasn't been the meters. I want to be very clear. We have not received 1 meter back under warranty. That's a problem. Now, it's the MIUs we're replacing. When you place, and let me get to one of those here. So we have, here's one right here. So here's when we visited, somebody had opened up the MIU, took the batteries out. All right? So that's not something that happened. Now, let me give you a little. The reason we install these and put them in the lid locks, if you didn't realize this, and I only got this information, I don't want to tell you how old I am, but about 8 years ago in my mid-50s. So, doing an engineering analysis on batteries across the corporation, we use lots of batteries in our products. We did an evaluation. We found that it was interesting because when you put a battery on its side, it wears out in about half the time, and when you place it upside down, right, it wears out very quickly. So it's very important to keep your batteries positive side up. Have you ever noticed when you have your flashlights and you put new batteries in them, the flat side is always positive side down, and when you go to use it after 4 or 5 months, it's always dim or out, because batteries self-discharge. So batteries can self-discharge, if you're not aware of that.
Importantly, when you go to the store and you look at the batteries.
They're always positive side up.
Yeah.
It's so.
Manufacturers want to make sure they work when you buy them. They don't care if they work after.
And what was interesting, we went to the battery manufacturers, and there are only 2 really reliable lithium battery manufacturers in the world. We gave them our data, and we said, look, something's wrong with the way you're manufacturing your batteries. And they looked at our data and looked at me and said, oh, no, this is right. You guys did a very nice job on this. I said, what do you mean? Because have you ever noticed batteries are always positive side up in the store? Batteries, toys are always made, so batteries are in sideways. We're in the battery business. That's how we make batteries. So in any case, to overcome that problem, right? To overcome that problem, by the way, I did build a flashlight rack, so all my, my batteries are positive side up now. But it's very important that these get in the lid locks, and they're always positive side up. And what we found is that a lot of them weren't in lid locks. They were upside down. This happens to be in lid locks, but somebody took the cover off one and pulled the batteries out. So don't know why they did that, but and you occasionally run into that early in a project where they don't understand what the system does or what it's going to do, and so you'll overcome this by educating your customer base on what the system can do for them, because the system can do wonders for the end user as well. And I think that recently they mailed a letter to in their bills to let the community know, hey, this system is in, we're fine tuning it, here are the benefits you're going to receive from it. So after saying that, I hope that answers your question. No, it's not normal for us to have 300 pieces of electronics that are bad, but if we look at the reasons they went bad, I mean, a lot of them were, they closed the cover on the wires itself and they severed some of the wires. So
That's his fault.
I don't blame anybody. You know what?
Actually, it could be easily fixed.
I'm going to be honest. I've done 600 systems globally, cities, probably 140 here in the U.S. And the hardest part is the contractor getting their work done to the level you really want it. And so is it normal for us to have to go back after a contractor and look at a system? Absolutely. Absolutely. Even though you try to keep up with them during the process, it's very important to do it afterwards as well. So, but the system's getting there. We're almost through all the little bumps in the road, and we're not going back and say, hey, and I can tell you, a lot of my competition will tell you, it's not our problem. You have to pay for that. We're fixing everything at no cost to the community. We're treating it as if it's under warranty, and your product is warranted, and it's fully covered.
So can we fast forward to the solution?
The solution, the solution right now is just some training right now. Most of your equipment in the field is working fine. I mean, the vast majority of it, you're always gonna have 1.5% a year that you're gonna have to maintain. So your staff has to get out there and make sure they maintain any issues that are out there. So that's about a normal rate.
April, maybe you can answer this. So how many staff members are training?
Maybe you should ask Chris.
Or Chris?
Or
April?
Chris? Chris, do you want to talk to that?
It could,
Didn't mean to throw you under the bus.
Clarify field and
The office.
Chris, could we help you with that? Because Mark actually has been involved with all of the training for staff.
And for the record, when Marilyn tries to transcribe this, that's Dan. Dan, how do you spell your last name?
Today, DEVANE.
Thank you. That's for
And
the-
he's an Aggie, by the way. Southwestern Conference with an Aggie.
It's okay. They dropped a bit, so it's all right.
So did you want me to comment, or would you like
Yeah,
to?
come on, get
What-
in there.
As far as I've seen all these things out in the field, and when you talk about an error rate, he's saying 4%, probably industry standard is 3. You know, it's like a computer, you get 100 of them, 2 or 3 are gonna be bad. So, and I've seen the problem out in the field. We have the problem with the areas under development, because the contractors out there kick the lids, run over the lids, flip them over to try and do illegal connections and things like that, and leave the lids flipped over and the batteries are upside down. I've seen some vandalism out there. I've seen someone took the batteries, and you're like, maybe somebody thinks it fits in their little motor car, I don't know.
So I'm still not hearing the solution.
Well, how
Well, the
many
solution I-
staff members do we have training? How many staff members do we have training? They
Training,
said that they're training our staff.
Leslie
Retraining.
and just, and a little April, and possibly Vicky, and I did some of that training,
There's
working.
outside staff as well that can deal with these type of problems.
Oh, installing?
with
I
training.
How about Mary?
Training,
Where does she figure in?
She's been trained.
yeah.
Your field staff has been consistent, so they've been trained.
Correct. It's the office staff where most of the problems as far as billing and things like that are concerned.
Yeah, but Mary's the one that's gonna find the batteries, and she's our point of contact
Oh,
for
she-
that type
and
of
she
thing.
does.
She's our great lady.
So you've
And
got,
that, but for someone who's in the office who's monitoring the software,
Yeah, I think it would be really great if Mark would come up and explain some of the examples of what we're talking about needing training on, that it's not just simply utilizing the software and performing a billing. It's actually how the softwares are interacting with one another. And we're kind of trying to catch up still from issues that have been pending since the beginning of the project. So it's a pretty comprehensive training, I think.
Mark,
And
would
it's-
you,
And it's Mark Green, right?
Yes, Mark
identify
Green.
yourself and take off your hat? We've got
Oh.
cameras.
You know better than that.
So, really the biggest problem that we're kind of seeing with the training here is the procedures aren't in place to really understand what they're viewing in the office and then allocate the staff in the field to go and fix it. The installation data, a lot of that was mismatched. We've been doing some practice billing runs or mock billing runs to clean a lot of that up. We're identifying a lot of the problems through that. If we can't actually find anything in the data that'll let us fix it, then it's time to issue somebody out to the field to go look. Same thing with damage meters, anything like that. No consumption on an account where we know that that customer's using water. Hey, we don't see consumption. It's now time to issue somebody to go out. And really, it's analyzing the data, making sure that it was tracked correctly from the install. If there's any doubt in your mind, go to the pit, verify it, things of that nature. But until those procedures are put into place, you're going to continue to have problems. I mean, you have to have a good chain of command there.
And that's what Mark is working on right now with April and Leslie.
Having been involved in sales for a few years, you, a youngster like you mentioned your age. I would think that you would have had, as part of your package, the implementation of this training to make sure that they were compatible and that both things coordinated together.
Oh, we did.
they did.
Yeah.
We did, but you changed personnel.
Well, then
This is
why are we
3
retro?
times.
Because
You changed
we've
personnel.
had personnel changes.
Yeah.
So that's
So-
why I'm asking how many of our staff are actually training to get this procedure so that more than one person is able
Good point.
to know what to do procedurally. And I think we need to have at least 3 people in the office who are able to do this.
And that is something that we're addressing as far as reorganization. That's succession planning and making sure that we have cross-training with responsibilities. And I'll tell you that right now, it is very difficult to do that. Right now, Leslie is the core as far as running the actual billing and the software. And then we have Vicki on customer service, that she is also familiar with the Zenner, with the software as far as the data and the analysis, and she helps on the customer service end. But those are issues that we need to address as an organization and set those things as priorities on being able to cross-train and have backups when we have people out.
So I put up in front of you a slide, and then I'll let you go, Mark, I apologize. Issues caused by lack of continuity of Gateway personnel. So Melissa, Yvonne, and Scott were the first ones who initiated this project. Melissa left, Cindy came on board, and Yvonne and Scott left. And then it came Leslie and April. So we were paid to do, right, our initial quote said, we're gonna come in for a whole week, and we're gonna train your office field and field personnel, we're gonna do that adequately. And then they left. And so we came back and we trained your second group. We never have come in right? And train April and.
We've done webinars.
We've done webinars, but that's not really adequate to do that. We try, and we try to keep our costs down too. You know, we did the project at X and now it's escalated because we've now paid for 2 sweeps and done some other things. So, trying to do the right thing, and we're still trying to do the right thing. We're gonna stay with you until it gets right, I promise you. All right, so, so Mark is here to give her the several days training she needs. Then she can work with the system, figure out what she doesn't know, and then again, we'll come back out and we'll give her more training. Giving it to her all now doesn't make sense because she won't hold it all.
Yeah.
There's
We'll give
a
her-
saturation
Yeah,
factor.
so we're gonna come back and do it again, right? After she works with it for a little while, and we'll work with her by phone. And we've also given her, we have, our customers really work with us across the country, so we've given her the name of some of, another lady that
Other
does the same.
utility contacts
Other
that do the
utility
same
contacts
thing
that she
that
can
she
call and say,
does.
hey, how do you do this, or how do you handle that? And so, that way she can work with people even outside our organization, and we're happy to do that for her.
And we've got full system compatibility from, we don't have any issues with older systems that we have being compatible?
think so,
No.
Okay,
no.
because I thought that might have been something early
No,
on. but-
no, it's really been a continuity issue that caused a lot of these problems that you're seeing, and that'll get cleared up. And when they get really trained and all the ugliness disappears that we're going through, you'll get down to using the system, you're gonna really see the benefits, because we're gonna help the district understand their water losses and how to prevent those, because that's what this system is all about. Not only helping the consumer understand their water usage, but also the utility prevent their water losses. So, and we've already had some discussions on how we can help them do that, and we're gonna do that. We're
And
gonna come
Chris,
in and do
how
that.
many, or if you guys think, how many open tickets do we have as far as meter failures or any that need to be replaced for whatever reason? Do we have?
The open tickets, have been addressing all
We
week.
did that.
So when you leave, in theory, we will have
Well, if
0
we-
defects in meters within our district.
Well, except for we have to cut the bushes back for communication. But I
Right.
can tell you this, I looked at the information, in fact, today I looked at it, right here. Your system is reporting in at 99.4% every day today. Every reading from 99.4% of the meters that are out there is coming in every day.
So they're reading.
Accurate?
Yeah.
They're reading.
Reading-
Accurate, we swept the system, and except for the issues we had, every one of them's accurate.
The system actually, by design, reports the exact information that is coming from the meter. So the meter says X number of gallons, that's what's being transmitted back to the utility.
Okay.
So as far as accuracy is concerned, it's designed with that built.
Now, if there is an issue at that pit, that's why when they get the reading the data better, when they know how to run a report and read data and say, okay, I got a problem with this meter or this meter or this meter, all right? Because we just pulled 4 meters that had heavy calcium deposits that had slipped in them. So, we're gonna teach them how to look for that stuff, and they can spot it from their desk and then be proactive with the. with
Within a
field
couple
people going out
months,
and just
they had
doing that.
heavy calcium deposits within a few months.
We just.
Couple of years,
It's
actually.
it's been 18 months now, a couple of years.
Oh,
And
so it's the
actually,
first
meter-
wave?
Yeah.
Zener meters have been out there longer than that. We, district started buying meters probably 3.5 years ago.
Okay, I
4
thought
years ago.
that was,
We did a pilot area
yeah,
too.
okay.
So that kind of calcium buildup is typical?
Well, we're seeing it
We have
mostly
heavy
in the
calcium in the
irrigation
water here.
meters.
Oh,
So-
really?
So it would be interesting, like I said, it has something for Chris and I and everybody. We're really knowledgeable about meters, so, and water treatment stuff, and so we're gonna work together to try and figure out how to solve that problem.
Maybe we've also got to work together with our supplier.
Well, the calcium calcium can be naturally built up from water. It can be the calcium inside the water that builds up inside the pipes and then flakes off.
Yeah.
Listening to, some of the reports that were going on today, it sounds like you guys are pulling well water for irrigation. Is that?
Some.
That could be some of the problem.
Yeah,
It's not.
water has
treated
natural
at all.
mineral content in it. So.
I think we have a heavy calcium in this area, so.
So you'll see that, but there are ways to work with that and solve that problem, so we'll work with this district to make sure that happens. It's not part of our system responsibility, but we certainly want that to work for the.
And the meters are actually designed, type of meters that you have in the ground are actually designed to shed a lot of material as it builds up. It's sometimes if it builds up at such a high rate in certain areas, it doesn't have time to shed it.
Yeah.
So it's not something that's probably gonna be that widespread, but you'll see it in certain places.
So, I'm sorry, Mark, you want to finish? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did want to say, as far as the training that has been received by your staff, I mean, I got to commend them. They do an amazing job. Really, the biggest problem that we have is being able to analyze the data, which right now we've got some data issues that we're sorting out. We've identified most of them today. Yeah, oh yes. One of the biggest problems in the database was when the meters went in, they weren't setting the resolution, the reading resolution, for those meters correctly. So between your billing software and the website, say a meter's supposed to be reading in tens of gallons and you've got it set to a hundreds of gallons profile, well, now you're adding a trailing zero. The read looks astronomical when it's really not. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. When we look at the raw reading, it's fine. And I think now working with April and Leslie to sort those out, identify them, we've fixed the vast majority of them, and at this point, it's just continue to scrub the data, looking for any other irregularities. But the procedures got to be in place. If we don't have the procedures from the top down to where the office staff can say, hey, I see something irregular in the data, I need to issue somebody to go take care of it, and this is what we're looking for. Until those are built, you're going to continue to have problems.
And by the way, Zenner, you know, as these things are noticed and as someone isn't that familiar and doesn't realize that what the problem might be, we're actually here to help you. You know, look at that data. Our project management staff who train people, who train the people at the utility, stay with that utility as far as, you know, Leslie and April have Mark's number. Even though he might not be here, he's available to them to call and ask questions. We like that relationship, that personal relationship, so that the utility's comfortable with our people and we understand what you've got going on because we've been on site specifically dealing with these exact situations with you. Instead of calling a helpline, which we have that as well, but calling someone who's very familiar with Gateway is really important. And that's why project management stays with that account.
Yeah, this system is a 20-year relationship with us. I mean, we're going to be helping you manage this system for the life of the system over the next 20 years. So we'll be helping you with your data and who said, so what, who's retired?
Ron said we're married.
We're married. You know what, and we treat our customers like that. We treat our customers, so any issue that you have, we're gonna be there to help. And it's, so, we assign a project manager for the life of a project. So Mark is gonna be this project manager, he'll always be there to help. If he doesn't know the answer, everything gets escalated. So if we don't resolve an issue within 24 to 48 hours, it gets escalated to my desk, and then I make a decision on getting involved and who to get involved to solve that problem. So once we get this thing rolling and get everybody trained and the junk behind us, we'll be in good shape, and I promise you, you'll be happy with the system that's in here, and so will the end users. They'll get a lot of useful data from it. And at some point, you could put in a customer portal where the customer can actually look at his own data or their own data and analyze whether they need to sprinkle because they just got rain. I mean, the system does, the customer portal gives them a lot of information to adequately cut their water consumption down, because we're all in, 36 states in this country are in water conservation mode, so I believe Florida is one of those states.
Rich, is there a manual from Zenner in the office back here?
You betcha.
And do you update it periodically?
We do. The trouble is, it's hard to go into a manual. I mean, it's hard to go into a manual and get all the nuances that goes on inside a system. So that's why Mark is helping her ongoing. If she doesn't understand something, she'll be able to call Mark, and Mark will walk her through it.
Tell me about the repeaters that we had to put on some
Okay.
trees and signs and places.
MIU repeaters. Well, MIU basically, so this is a mesh-based system. So I'm going to give you just a little thing here. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go slideshow, and I'm gonna go from current slide. So the way the system works, as soon as it comes up, here it comes, hang on a second, here it goes. So the way the system works is you have collectors. So every endpoint is a repeater, right? They talk to each other. That's the beauty of a mesh versus a line of sight. So it's much less expensive to install, much more reliable once it's in, because it automatically self-configures around changing environments. So if somebody puts up a home, it'll actually communicate around that device to get its information in. And to answer your question, so if we have a blank or a space in between two things reporting, we want to strengthen that link, so we improve the latency, the time it takes to get information in, we simply hang a repeater, which could be as simple as an MIU, or it could be a device that actually goes out further if you reach out and grab information a mile and a half off and bring it in. So that's what repeaters do.
Are they, I originally was told that this is a ground radio system. Are the repeaters above ground?
They can be.
Or
They can be below ground, they can be in your hydrants. We have hydrant caps you can put them inside of. So lots of ways you can do it, so that they're not obtrusive to your environment. If they're ugly to you, then we'll figure out a way to make them not. So,
In this area, I don't remember the exact repeater,
Wasn't that
but it's
many.
very low. And it's because of the design of your system and how closely the homes or how close the homes are to each other. It's almost a natural mesh. You know, where we usually run into a lot of repeater strings is when we do a real rural system, where you may have, I don't know, 5 to 10 homes per mile.
you have 49 MIU repeaters and you have 12 enhanced repeaters in the system. Enhanced repeat,
you have 12 what?
12 enhanced repeaters, the ones that go out further and reach. I think you have some areas that were out that were like new developments, and you need to bring that information in as well, if I remember right, and that's where we use those. Now, as you build in, you can remove some of those. And now, one of the things that is we're very involved with Internet of Things. You guys heard about Internet of Things? Everybody? No? Internet of Things is where all information is going to be moved in the future. It's a low-powered wide area network that's going to be deployed throughout the world. Every country is going to have it. And in the next 4 years, 100 countries in the world will have it fully deployed. So our equipment is already compatible with Internet of Things. So later on, once this Internet of Things reaches here, you can simply remove your infrastructure and have information jump on that highway as well. It just takes a new programming. And the beauty of the system you purchased is we have the only system that can be reprogrammed from a central computer. Like Microsoft updates its software to your computer, we do the same thing with every MIU that's out there. We can do that from a central computer. So nobody else does that. Actually, we hold a very tight patent on that, over-the-air reprogramming.
How much more do you have for us this evening?
No, I mean, I'm gonna leave this for you. There was more, but I'm gonna leave it for you. As I see everybody's had a long day.
Yeah.
And, again, I appreciate the opportunity to talk, because I think there's been a lot of misinformation about what's going on out there and the failures and the things like that. And I wanted to make sure you had the information and the facts.
Can I just make one comment?
Mhm.
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
Leslie did reach out to the utility that they suggested this morning. They had a conversation, and the things that we're seeing here are what we would call normal. And what we're going to have to do is learn, we're trying to get to our baseline right now to see when we run a billing and when we run this analysis to see what normal is. And then we're going to have to learn to negotiate that with appropriate staffing levels. Right now, we're a little lean because we've got new installations going on in the construction sites, and that makes us really lean as far as being able to timely troubleshoot this information as it comes available to us. So it's just something that we're going to have to learn to utilize.
Are you good, Mike?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
Any other
Yep.
questions?
No, I just polled the members, and they're very appreciative and happy with your presentation.
Thank you.
And we thank you for staying around to bring us up to speed on what you're really doing for us.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the board, we are now at that point. We have supervisors' comments.
Thanks very much.
Can I use yours?
Yes, go right ahead.
Doug, yes, comments for us? Or
Yeah, I have two things. One, I want to request a working session for the I think it's December 15th. Is that our second meeting?
First 15th.
Yeah, for the 15th, from 3 to 4 o'clock. So it would be before the regular board meeting starts, and the purpose of that is I'd like to discuss our meeting agenda, talk about the format. Maybe there's some opportunities to move some things around. I think it'll give the new board members an opportunity to, and for the old, for us to assess our agenda and how we line things up. Two, I want to talk about how we can better as a board have more productive discussions, either using work sessions or workshops, something of that nature. And then thirdly, I want, as a new board comes in, I think we need to spend a little bit of time just talking, begin the discussion on our district goals, priorities, guiding principles, what the new board needs to be successful moving forward. So all I'm asking for is an hour on the second meeting for us to just be having an open forum and be able to go over some things. That's the first item.
So you said between 3 and 4 o'clock, so,
Yep.
so the first hour. of the
First hour would be a
meeting-
working session.
Okay.
Yeah.
You okay? Kathy, you okay?
Yeah, okay. And I don't know if we need to formally.
No, I think
okay.
once again.
All right,
you-
great. And then the second, I know we're going through org review, and then I think there's going to be a recommendation on December, but I wanted to circle back, because I think April had brought something up maybe 2 meetings ago, because I remember when we extended her, gave her 90 days, and we started this whole process, and I just wanted to understand maybe, from Stephen, from you, where are we at with April as far as, do we need to give her a 90-day extension, or is she on a month-to-month? I'm not really sure how that's structured.
From Severn Trent's perspective, she's not on a month-to-month, just as long as
Okay.
she
'Cause I remember
serves
we-
at the pleasure of the district.
Right.
Okay, because I remember we voted on a 90-day extension, because she was originally on a 90-day, we extended again 90, which I think that is up, so I just want to make sure that there's.
That was for the districts, and put that 90 days in, in terms of trying to make a decision.
Okay,
and
but
kind
there's
of
nothing we
figure
have to
out
do.
for both. No, that's
Okay.
absolutely
Okay,
not.
that's all I got.
Thank you, Doug. Margaret?
I just want to extend my thanks to, well, Gary's not here, well, to Pam then, for the time that you've served on the board. Thank you. I'll miss you here. We'll have some new members, but I will miss you here.
I've tried 4 times.
Since you brought that up, I have a bittersweet duty here to present to Pam, and Gary, if he gets back, a memento of our appreciation
Well, thank you.
for all that you've done for
Thank
us.
you.
Applause is in order.
Beautiful, thank you.
And I just want to say thank you, everyone. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you in the meeting.
You're never coming back here, what are you talking about?
It's been a pleasure, Pam, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
working with you, thank you.
Thank you.
She'll watch online.
Anybody know where Rick Newbar is?
Thank you.
Let me
I
just
don't
go.
know,
No, he's still here.
well, that's the district, isn't it?
Yeah.
He left the empty I think he had left the empty candy wrappers, that's all. I don't know.
Bob, would you check the men's room and see if he's. Hear a violent noise? There you go.
I think he's swiping all the files Just kidding.
No, he's returning all his files, he doesn't want them in his house anymore.
Swiping will serve over the cough.
Doug, do you have an iPhone?
Mm-hmm.
Can you airdrop it? The picture?
Not in the restroom.
Well,
Thank you very much, and I'll give it to you.
No,
no, you can just-
I just want to make sure everything's still on.
It's
Oh,
somewhat-
okay, I'm shutting down.
it's
Okay.
somewhat out of order.
No, no problem.
To present
All right, so I left you.
a memento For someone who worked as hard for the CDD for 8 years, as Gary did, with him not being here. But again, applause for his hard work as a leader. I will see that he gets this. Is there anything else to come before the board this evening? Anyone? We are adjourned.
Great.
I'll give it to Dave. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm here.